Welcome to my channel, Hi Team, and welcome back to The Real Truth Files, the only show that digs a little deeper and lets you know what the network censors. Take a look at this photo. You've already met her. Reserved, down to earth, always the mediator. Maddie Brown brush. For years, she avoided the madness that surrounded her father's plural kingdom. She kept her head down, raised her children, and refused to take sides. But this week, all of that fell apart. According to insider reports and leaked court documents, Maddie finally broke her silence, not in a social media rant, but in a sworn deposition tied to the ongoing Brown family civil case. And when she spoke, every illusion about her father, Kody Brown, and his last standing wife, Robyn, began to crumble. What follows is a painstaking reconstruction, built from sole source insider notes and court audio secured by the Real Truth Files. It's the tale of how the daughter who previously stood up for her parents decided to reveal their deceit, manipulation, and supposed financial fraud. Before we go in that courtroom, you guys know the drill. If you think the original Brown children are owed their truth, if you're sick of the gaslighting and the favoritism, then show it. Tap the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell. Let the algorithm know we're the real family, the real crew, and we're here for accountability. To comprehend the gravity of Maddie's outburst, we need to look back at where the Fishers first started. The initial lawsuit of Christine and Janelle against Kody and Robyn had brought it open, but Maddie's deposition has blown the door off its hinges. She was subpoenaed as a money witness after emails that connected her name with early investments in a family business, Heritage Horizons LLC, came out. That business was to serve all Brown kids equally, but insiders say it became one more hidden fund that Kody and Robyn controlled. Maddie never wanted to be included in this, but when the subpoena came, she had two options: uphold the myth or be honest. That evening, she said to her mom, Janelle, "If I lie for him, I become him," a close source says. Courtroom A, Flagstaff Municipal, March 7th. It was a gray morning. Inside, Maddie passed by her father without a look. Kody shifted at the defense table. Robyn clutched her rosary so hard that her knuckles whitened. Judge Henderson, "Mrs. Brush, please raise your right hand." Maddie, "I do." Plaintiff's attorney Anna Chararma asked, "You were a partner in a business called Heritage Horizons LLC?" Maddie nodded. "Yes, I did bookkeeping and sales online." "Who had control of the bank account?" "My father and Robyn." "Did you have access to it?" "No, I was told my role was symbolic." "Were you paid?" "Not directly. I was promised equity in the future." "And did that equity ever manifest in writing?" "No." There it is, crew, the word equity. The same dangling carrot that's been waved in front of every person in that family. Sacrifice now, reap later. But later never arrived. In accordance with evidence submitted as Exhibit 73B, Maddie disclosed an email from Robyn directing her to have orders continue coming through her personal website and assuring payment once numbers are finalized. That payment never materialized. When questioned when she learned funds were being diverted, Maddie responded softly, "When I saw payments from Heritage Horizons going into K&R Holdings LLC." The same account the nanny, Mindy Jessup, had uncovered months prior. The courtroom went silent. A daughter 20 feet from her father, affirming under oath that he might have used her name to transfer money. That isn't a betrayal of the law. That's betrayal of the bloodline. Chararma asked, "Were the transfers authorized by you or any of your brothers and sisters?" Maddie nodded. "No, none of us knew. It was meant to be family income, but it was just them." And that team was only the start. Maddie's measured tone had just opened Book 2 of the Brown family reckoning. But what she said next wasn't money. It was about manipulation. Where reveal what the cameras won't and the network won't put on the air. When we left, Maddie Brown Brush had only recently testified under oath to the fact that her dad, Kody Brown, and his wife Robyn used family money to transfer family funds into hidden business accounts. But things only really picked up and turned the courtroom into a psychological battle after that. Maddie wasn't merely testifying about dollars and cents anymore. She was testifying about control. As told to us by our source in the courtroom, following the first finance testimony, Maddie breathed deeply and asked permission to add some context. The judge granted it. What she explained next, crew, shocked everyone. She declared, money was only part of it. The real currency in that house was guilt. Let that sit with you. Guilt, not dollars, was the tool. Maddie continued to explain how Kody and Robyn manipulated the family members emotionally to keep them in line. She remembered family gatherings in which Kody would lecture the wives in loyalty while Robyn sat beside him, nodding in agreement to every statement. Maddie stated he'd call it unity, but what he meant was obedience. If anyone questioned him, he'd say they were breaking the covenant. Court transcript excerpt. Dramatized from Insider Notes Kararma. Mrs. Brush, can you clarify what you are saying by guilt being currency? Maddie, if you challenged my dad, you were shamed. If you challenged Robyn, you were jealous. It wasn't a matter of keeping quiet. You had to act loyal. Kararma, was this aimed at you individually? Maddie, sometimes. When I got engaged to Caleb, my dad said I was forsaking the family unit. Robyn said I was doing what Christine had done, pursuing autonomy at the expense of oneness. I was 20 years old, but treason felt like growing up. Crew, pay attention. That's not emotional manipulation. That's a script. A systematic conditioning technique employed to manipulate behavior using shame and fear. And it didn't end when the cameras stopped rolling. Maddie went on. He used God when money didn't. He'd say God favored obedience. He'd say Robyn was the model of how a wife was supposed to be. Her voice cracked for the first time there, according to the transcript. She went on. But the truth is, Robyn was not obeying God. She was obeying the money. The courtroom fell silent once more. Even the defense attorney ceased taking notes. At that point, the judge interrupted gently, asking Maddie if she needed a break. She said, "No, I've been quiet long enough." Imagine the crew. Years of silence summarized in a single sentence. The burden of generations of devotion, lifted among strangers. Maddie wasn't merely crying out her dad. She was violating a family code that had been drummed into every Brown child since childhood. Protect the image, no matter what. Then came the next bombshell. Kararma inquired if Maddie had ever been instructed to keep secrets from producers. Maddie testified, "Yes. Robyn texted me before season 15 filming. She told me, if they ask about money, tell them you don't know." "Keep it off camera." "I still have that text." Gasps echoed through the courtroom. That one message, if confirmed, would be potential willful misrepresentation to the family, but also to TLC. A possible violation of contract and, by analysts, even fraud charges. Crew, this is no longer drama. This is paperwork. Maddie had receipts. As the court adjourned for lunch, Kody was said to have slammed his chair back and groaned something under his breath. Robyn's face was flushed, eyes brimming with tears, gripping her handbag. And Maddie? She didn't glance at them even once. She just walked out of the room straight, chin held high, composed, like Apperson, who had finally spoken the truth after carrying a boulder on her shoulders for years. But then came the afternoon session, and that is where things turned sinister. The topic changed from money to manipulation once more, but this time it wasn't bank accounts. It was inheritance, and what Maddie said about who was supposed to inherit what stunned even the judge into silence. We'll get into that next, crew. The hidden documents, the fake trusts, and the secret beneficiaries that may prove everything Christine and Janelle have been saying all along. When we broke for the day, Maddie Brown had shaken the courtroom with the revelation about guilt, manipulation, and loyalty being weapons of choice within the Brown family. But when the session opened up again that afternoon, things got from emotional to explosive. This time, it wasn't just about how her father manipulated the family, it was about how he attempted to manipulate their future. The discussion shifted to inheritance. The lawyer for the plaintiffs, Anna Kararma, presented a string of financial documents designated as Exhibit 81A through 81D. They consisted of scribbled notes, printed drafts of wills, and a list of designated beneficiaries that were never submitted to the state. Insider reports have them discovered in a filing cabinet raided from Kody and Robyn's residence. Maddie was asked if she knew the handwriting on the notes. She did not hesitate. "Yes, that's my dad's." Kararma asked her to describe what these documents were. Maddie breathed and said, "It was a plan." He referred to it as the legacy plan. He told me it was intended to secure the next generation, but it wasn't for everyone. The courtroom fell silent. Maddie went on. He explained that the family required structure, that only the obedient households would benefit from the assets, Robyn's children. He informed me and my brothers that since we were living outside the principal, we'd lost our entitlement. Crew, let that sit for a minute. She's claiming that her father had a secret estate plan that excluded the children who didn't obey his dictates. That wasn't favoritism. That's an economic caste system within a family that preached fairness. Court transcript excerpt, dramatized from insider notes. Chararma. Mrs. Brush, did your father ever say this directly to you? Maddie. Yes. When he asked him about my college fund in 2019, he told me, Maddie, loyalty builds legacy. Disobedience destroys it. Then he chuckled and said, Don't worry, Robyn and I will take care of the righteous. Chararma. Did you take that as a threat or a statement? Maddie. Both. Crew, that one sentence, loyalty creates legacy, was the foundation of Kody's personal empire. Behind the public image of religion and togetherness, he was allegedly creating a web of LLCs and trusts meant to channel wealth toward the one side of the family. But it only gets better. Maddie exposed that she had previously assisted in notarizing a document in 2020, which she'd believed was a normal form for the family business. Next time she saw it, however, it was modified. Her signature was appended on a financial transfer she never authorized. She stated softly, That's when I figured my name was being used without my permission. You might have heard gasps, crew. Even the judge shifted uncomfortably in his seat. The defense attorney jumped to his feet, asserting the records were incomplete and not verified. But Anna Chararma had prepared. She presented the judge with a folder and said, Your Honor, these are certified copies right from the Flagstaff County Clerk's office, with notarization dates and Maddie Brown Brush's verified signature on file. Boom. Evidence authenticated. At that moment, Maddie's voice cracked for the first time. I thought he was keeping us safe. I thought this was about family. But every time he used the word legacy, what he really meant was control. Crew, that's manipulation power masquerading as love. It's not only betrayal, it's rewriting a family's financial DNA. Maddie continued to explain how her mother, Janelle, had questioned years ago about missing income from book royalties and public speaking engagements. Every time, she said, Robyn would intervene, vowing to take care of it privately. Nothing was ever taken care of. And then the most menacing portion. Maddie testified that when she confronted her father by phone later in 2021, he said to her, You've been listening to the wrong people. This family doesn't need auditors, it needs repentance. Crew, can you believe it? A father embroiled in a financial scandal, making his defense a sermon. That is not accountability. That is spiritual gaslighting. As the court day ended, sources indicate that Kody did not even glance at Maddie as he departed. Robyn exited in tears, papers clutched in her hands. But Maddie? She remained in her seat, calm, still. She appeared as though she had at long last decided on truth over blood. But the following day, when she came back for cross-examination, the defense attempted to turn the tables, accusing her of being coached by her mother and Christine, saying she was coached to take the stand against her father. What the defense did next would totally backfire on them. We left off at the moment when Maddie Brown Brush unveiled the shocking legacy plan, a secret financial system created to direct family wealth to Kody and Robyn's select heirs. That in itself was probably the story of the year. But what followed, team, revealed to the world just how manipulative Kody had been, and how badly the defense had underestimated Maddie. The following morning, court resumed at 9 a.m. The atmosphere was tense. The defense lawyer, Mr. Croft, was obviously prepared to take a shot at Maddie's credibility. He approached the witness stand with a smug smile and declared, Mrs. Brush, I presume you care for your mother, Janelle, extremely much? Maddie nodded. And you're close to Christine Brown too, aren't you? Maddie nodded once more. He smiled wider. So, it would be fair to say that you're emotionally invested in this case. The courtroom went still. Maddie looked him straight in the eye and said, I'm emotionally invested in the truth. Crew. That line hit like a thunderclap. Mr. Croft attempted to push again. He suggested Maddie's testimony had been coached by her mother and Christine, that she was merely parroting them. Maddie didn't blink. I don't need anyone to tell me what I saw, she testified. I balanced those books. I entered those invoices. I watched the money move. I watched the lies grow. Boom, she wasn't on the defensive. She was striking back. As per our source, Croft visibly bristled. He changed tack, producing an email from January 2021. Mrs. Brush, he continued, this is an email you sent your father in which you said, we love you and support you. Always. That doesn't sound like someone accusing him of fraud. Maddie nodded. You're right, because at that time I still trusted him. I thought that the gossip was just an exaggeration. But when I discovered my own name on accounts that I never created, that sense died. Crew, that's where loyalty ends and awakening begins. And the jury got it. Then Croft erred, grossly. He inquired, "You said emotional manipulation. Aren't you possibly just dramatizing family stress for attention? Perhaps even to reinvent your own image as a YouTuber?" The audience murmured. The judge raised a brow. Maddie's tone stayed steady. "I'm not here to sell anything. I'm here because my father sold us." Gasps. Even the court reporter looked up from her keyboard. Croft attempted to take control back. He implied that Maddie was resentful because Kody had not encouraged her relocation to North Carolina. She replied, "He didn't need to encourage me. He just needed to be honest. He told me Robyn and I were equals. And then I saw my name beside hers on a phony company filing. Hers as owner, mine as dependent. I wasn't an equal. I was valuable. Crew, that's one of the scariest things we've ever heard come from within that family. I wasn't equal. I was useful." After a few more failed attempts at trying to catch her off guard, the defense was out of options. Maddie's responses were consistent, factual, and level-headed. Each emotional jab they took, she parried with facts. When court recessed, a source said you could sense the mood changing. The jury wasn't only sympathetic, they were amazed. Maddie did not sound bitter as a daughter. She sounded like a whistleblower. But the last question before lunch pushed it even further. Chararma got up again for redirect and posed gently, "Mrs. Brush, if you could tell your dad anything right now, what would it be?" Maddie hesitated, looked down, and replied, "You taught me to tell the truth, even when it hurts." I guess I finally listened. Crew, you could have heard a pin drop. That's not merely testimony. That's poetry spawned from pain. The judge thanked her for her calmness and called for a brief recess. Kody's face was red, jaw locked, and Robyn, well, she looked like someone who'd just realized the family story they'd constructed over years was finally imploding in public. But the following session would make matters even bleaker for them. Maddie's financial records were one thing, but what she showed of Robyn's off-the-books spending, her secret credit accounts, and her communications with TLC producers would blow their whole defense plan apart. When we last left off, Maddie Brown had just leveled the defense's game plan line after line. But even as strong as her own testimony had been, the earthquake was yet to come. The after session was all about financial evidence, receipts, transfers, and screenshots. And what Maddie had to share with the court about Robyn's illicit spending habits left the whole courtroom agog. Based on insider accounts, Anna Chararma started out with presenting a folder marked Exhibit 96F. It contained detailed statements from several joint credit lines that were opened under the R. Brown and K. Brown names. Maddie verified she had assisted with reconciling some of the statements way back in 2020 when she was still assisting with managing merchandise orders. "It began with household items," she explained. "Then it got weird. I'd spot designer boutiques, jewelry stores online, orders of luxury skincare products, thousands per pop." The attorney inquired, "Did your dad or Robyn ever break down these charges to you?" Maddie nodded slightly. "They said it was for filming. Robyn said the network paid us back for wardrobe and set dressing. But I went on and checked the TLC vendor reimbursement list later. Those payments weren't there. Crew, that's the smoking gun. Funds expended in the name of the family, defended on grounds of production but never recuperated." Court transcript excerpt dramatized from insider notes. Chararma. "Mrs. Brush, were these cards charged to the same Heritage Horizons account we spoke about a while back?" Maddie. "Yes, the charges were paid out of that account, not from personal money. I even noticed one designated as Heritage Operations Fee, which was really a charge at Louis Vuitton." Chararma. "Louis Vuitton?" Maddie. "Yes, about $2,300. Chararma. "And who approved that expenditure?" Maddie. "Robyn." Robyn is said to have buried her face in her hands at this point. The courtroom whispered. Maddie had more. She explained that she had once discovered an invoice from a PR company called Clear Image Media, paid via the same account. When she asked Robyn about it, she said it was to handle online hate. Later, Maddie discovered that the company dealt in influencer brand recovery. The Brown family wasn't paying for protection. They were paying for reputation. Crew, think about it. While Christine and Janelle were struggling to pay Forland and mortgages, Robyn and Kody were supposedly spending commingled business funds to groom their public persona. And then the biggest bombshell yet. Chararma asked, Mrs. Brush, did you ever witness communication between Robyn Brown and representatives from TLC about the family's financial representation on the show? Maddie paused, then nodded. Yes, I saw emails. The courtroom fell silent. Shararma, can you summarize the content of those emails? Maddie, Robyn had asked production to soften our financial divergence. She said, keep the story positive, highlight unity, and eliminate scenes that portray us as divided. Shararma, and what did production do? Maddie, they complied. They said conflict sells, but total collapse doesn't. Robyn thanked them and said she would handle the rest internally. Crew, if that chain of emails is verified, it's not only family dishonesty. It's possible media deception. TLC may have inadvertently aired manipulated plotlines that hid cash embezzlement. From what one insider told our team, the feeling was that the walls had come crashing down on Kody and Robyn at that moment. They'd invested decades in creating their reputation as martyred innocents. Now, under oath, their daughter was dismantling that reputation with irrefutable evidence. And then, just when that wasn't enough, Maddie shared something very intimate. She told us she received a message from Robyn herself a few weeks later stating, "Family loyalty means protecting the truth we choose to tell." Maddie informed us that she looked at that sentence for days, knowing it was the best description of how her dad and Robyn lived. Not in truth, but chosen truth. Crew, that's manipulation at its finest, making everyone believe lying is loyalty. As the day wrapped up, Kody appeared furious. He slanted over next to his lawyer and whispered something vicious enough to make the man jerk back. Robyn went white, mascara streaming down her face. And Maddie? She stood firm. Tired, yes, but firm. Like someone finally seeing a storm she'd been warning about for years finally arrive. But the following morning, the testimony had shifted again. It was no longer money or deceit. It was about faith, control, and power. Maddie's second revelation concerned how her father had used religion to explain his behavior, and how Robyn used God to shut down all those who disagreed. When we last left off, Maddie Brown had only just drawn back the curtain on the family's secret finances, the high-end spending, the hidden accounts, the carefully curated deceptions. Buddhist incendiary as all of that was, Maddie's last bit of testimony cut harder than any figure in Alliger. Because what Maddie revealed next wasn't a matter of money at all. It was a matter of faith, and how her father, Kody Brown, wielded God as a weapon. It was the last hour off testimony by Maddie, and even the journalists who were typing furiously on their keyboards were stilled by it. The atmosphere was charged, all eyes on her as she leaned forward into the microphone and spoke softly. He said obedience was salvation. With that alone, the room went cold. Maddie said that, as a child, religion wasn't so much a system of beliefs. It was the leash. Kody would cite scripture to defend favoritism, punishment, even spending choices. He'd say God rewards the obedient, Maddie said, her tone flat but fracturing at the edges. And when Robyn arrived, she became the benchmark of obedience. She was the yardstick we could never meet. Crew, that's not religion. That's control masquerading as scripture. Then was the moment that everyone in that courtroom will never forget. Shararma posed the question, Mrs. Brush, in your mind, why did your father do all this? The money, the manipulation, the lies? Maddie kept staring forward. Because he felt he was above it all. He thought God had his lawyer and Robyn had his shield. Gasps. Real gasps. She continued. He said the family would crumble without his authority. But what really crumbled was his soul. And I'm not sure there's anything left to save. Crew, the judge had to pause the session right there. Some jurors were visibly shaken. Even the court staff seemed frozen in their chairs. It wasn't just testimony anymore, it was revelation. And then, just as the judge was about to adjourn, Maddie made her next move. She retrieved a folded sheet of paper from her handbag, put it on the witness stand, and announced, "This was the letter he wrote me 2 weeks prior to this trial." Shararma looked stunned. The defense objected immediately, but the judge allowed it to be logged as potential evidence. The paper was sealed in an envelope marked, "Private Correspondence from K. Brown to M. Brush." No one, not even the attorneys, was permitted to open it on record. Maddie simply said, "When the time is right, you'll understand everything." Crew, do you feel that? The quiet. The intrigue. That letter might hold the key to it all. The motive, the missing funds, the evidence behind decades of deception. But for now, it sits quietly, locked, waiting. As Maddie got off the stand, her dad, for the first time in years, actually looked at her. Really looked at her. He was red, his face shaking with rage or fear, no one knew. Robyn went to grab his hand, but he yanked it back. And just as Maddie exited the courtroom, she glanced back for the last time and whispered quietly, "You can't bury the truth forever. It always digs its way out." Then she walked out. No tears, no hesitation. Just truth ringing in a room of people who'd based their lives on lies. Crew, that's where we leave it. For now, what's in the letter? Why was Kody so eager to keep it closed? And what's next for a family torn apart by its own secrets? We'll know soon. Because our insiders say there's another wave of testimony on the way. And it could include someone none of us ever thought we'd hear. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, because the moment that letter surfaces, everything changes. This isn't over, crew. Not even close. Stay tuned.